This is very much an era of war. We had hoped it wouldn't be one, but it's turned out to be quite the opposite. The war between Russia and Ukraine has raged for more than 3 years. Ukraine's retaliation has been fierce, and as much as global powers have tried to speak to both sides, try to forge a solution, both Russia and Ukraine continue to battle it out at great human and economic cost.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that. Remember this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
There have been sanctions, there have been negotiations, there have been global summits, and there was even a public altercation involving both President Zelensky of Ukraine and President Trump of the United States in the White House. But the war has continued. On the 7th of October 2023, Hamas killed more than 1,000 people in Israel in a horrific terror attack. Many were kidnapped and taken hostage and taken to Gaza.
Allahu Akbar! Allahu Akbar!
We didn't want this war. It was forced upon us in the most brutal and savage way. But though Israel didn't start this war, Israel will finish it. Once the Jewish people were stateless. Once the Jewish people were defenseless. No longer. Hamas will understand that by attacking us, they've made a mistake of historic proportions. We will exact a price that will be remembered by them and Israel's other enemies for decades to come. The savage attacks that Hamas perpetrated against innocent Israelis are mind-boggling, slaughtering families in their homes, massacring hundreds of young people at an outdoor festival, kidnapping scores of women, children, and elderly, even Holocaust survivors. Hamas terrorists bound, burned, and executed children. They are savages. Hamas is ISIS. And just as the forces of civilizations united to defeat ISIS, the forces of civilization must support Israel in defeating Hamas.
Israel not only responded with strikes on Gaza, but eventually launched a ground invasion. Gaza continues to be under attack, where thousands have died, and Israel has vowed to continue until it eliminates Hamas.
You know, I spoke with Prime Minister Netanyahu for I don't know how many times, but again this morning. And already we're surging additional military assistance to the Israeli Defense Force, including ammunition, interceptors to replenish the Iron Dome, and we've moved the U.S. carrier fleet to the Eastern Mediterranean, and we're sending more fighter jets there in that region. And made it clear to the Iranians, be careful. We want to make it real clear. We're working on every aspect of the hostage crisis in Israel, including deploying experts to advise and assist with recovery efforts. Now, the press is going to shout to me, and many of you are, that, you know, what are you doing to get these folks home? If I told you, I wouldn't be able to get them home. Folks, there's a lot we're doing.
Je tiens tout d'abord, comme vient de le faire Monsieur le Chancelier, à exprimer une nouvelle fois ma solidarité pleine et entière avec Israël. J'ai eu l'occasion, après l'échange que nous avions eu samedi, de m'entretenir à nouveau avec le Premier ministre Netanyahou ce matin. L'Allemagne et la France se tiennent en effet ensemble aux côtés du peuple israélien dans ce moment tragique. La lutte contre le terrorisme est une cause commune que nous continuerons de porter avec Israël et tous nos alliés et partenaires internationaux. Rien ne la justifie, rien ne l'explique. Nous aurons l'occasion en effet, plus tard aujourd'hui, de nous entretenir avec, entre autres, le président des États-Unis d'Amérique et le Premier ministre du Royaume-Uni pour continuer d'avancer de concert sur cette situation dramatique.
The scenes that we've seen in Israel over the past 36 hours are truly horrifying. I want to express my absolute solidarity for the people of Israel. Now is not a time for equivocation, and I'm unequivocal. Hamas and the people who support Hamas are fully responsible for this appalling act of terror, for the murder of civilians and for the kidnapping of innocent people, including children. I've just spoken with Prime Minister Netanyahu to assure him of the UK's steadfast support as Israel defends itself against these appalling attacks. We will do everything that we can to help. Terrorism will not prevail.
There was also Israel's counterstrikes in the Middle East in what is its response to a proxy war waged against it. It eliminated not only leaders of Hamas but also Hezbollah. It struck deep into Lebanese territory to strike against the Hezbollah leadership, including Hassan Nasrallah. Hezbollah has long been backed by Iran.
Over the past 48 hours and even more, Israel has experienced the worst terror attack in our history and the most barbaric terror attack that I can remember at all. I want to tell you a story from just 5 minutes ago. I spoke to a mom that was with her baby in a shelter, and on the other side, the terrorists were trying to open the door, and she was holding the handle, and she knew that if she lets go of the handle, the terrorists will kill her and her baby. She knows this because her next door neighbor, a mother, a father, and 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls, the youngest child 2 years old, were all murdered with a rifle, with shots in their heads. And now multiply that by dozens of families that were wiped out. Imagine if you were in that room. Imagine the terrorists knocking on the door and trying to enter, and you're fighting for your family's life. We are talking about the most barbaric terrorists that exist, monsters, and we're going to fight them, we're going to kill them.
One key instrument in Israel's targeting of Hezbollah were pagers that detonated at different locations while operated by Hezbollah members. But conflict would not be limited to the Middle East. On the 22nd of April this year, a group of tourists enjoying time with family in Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir were targeted by terrorists. Non-Muslim men were singled out and murdered. 26 died. The attack had a clear Pakistani imprint and India had to respond.
Today, from the soil of Bihar, I say to the whole world, India will identify, track and punish every terrorist and their backers. We will pursue them to the ends of the earth. India's spirit will never be broken by terrorism. Terrorism will not go unpunished. Every effort will be made to ensure that justice is done. The entire nation is firm in this resolve. Everyone who believes in humanity is with us. I thank the people of various countries and their leaders who have stood with us in these times.
Its response was Operation Sindoor. These were at first targeted strikes on 9 different terror hubs in Pakistan. India struck deep into Pakistani territory, and these were unprecedented for their precision and the destruction it inflicted on terror infrastructure that's flourishing in Pakistan.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर कॉन्सेप्चुअलाइज हुआ तो हमारा जो पीछे की कार्रवाई होती है स्पेड वर्क और टारगेट्स को आइडेंटिफाई और एनालाइज करने की कार्रवाई शुरू हो गई थी। मैंने जब स्टेटमेंट दिया तो मैंने बताया कि बहुत सारे थे, हमने 21 दिखाए होंगे और भी हैं, लेकिन वो लिस्ट फिल्टर करते करते 21 तक पहुंची। जो इंट एजेंसीज ने अभी तक असेसमेंट किया है उसमें उन्होंने कहा है कि तकरीबन 100 से ज़्यादा मारे गए हैं।
Terrorists, including family members of the Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Maulana Masood Azhar, were killed. But it did not stop there. When Pakistan targeted Indian civilians in Jammu and Kashmir and places of worship like nunneries and gurudwaras, India first struck and destroyed Pakistan's air defense systems.
हमने हनुमान जी के उस आदर्श का पालन किया है जो उन्होंने अशोक वाटिका उजाड़ते समय किया था। हमने केवल उन्हीं को मारा जिन्होंने हमारे मासूमों को मारा।
India has demonstrated considerable restraint in its response. However, it must be said that the Indian armed forces are fully prepared to respond to Pakistani misadventures, if any, that will escalate this situation.
मैं आप सबको बताना चाहती हूं कि किसी भी सैन्य ठिकाने का निशाना नहीं बनाया गया और अभी तक किसी तरह की नागरिक क्षति की रिपोर्ट नहीं है।
India exercised its right to respond and preempt as well as deter more such cross-border attacks. These actions were measured, non-escalatory, proportionate and responsible.
And when Pakistan threatened further escalation, India struck as many as 11 air bases in Pakistan, including some perilously close to Pakistan's nuclear installations.
Pakistan attempted to hit back on India with attack UAVs, with artillery missiles, even with ballistic missiles, and essentially this effort has failed because Indian air defenses have shot down the mass of incoming weaponry. And on the other hand, we have seen early on 10th of May, Indian Air Force striking not only Pakistan Air Force bases, but also the both entrances to the Pakistan nuclear weapon storage site at the Mushaf Air Base. This is a part of Sargodha complex. And the fact is, in the military, in the way the military understands warfare, when you start targeting enemy nuclear weapon storage sites, that means you are absolutely sure the enemy cannot hit back. And the reason the enemy cannot hit back, in this case, this enemy is Pakistan, is that you have managed to overpower enemy's defenses and then to block all the enemy attempts to hit you, in this case, India. Therefore, to strike an enemy nuclear weapon storage site is absolutely, evidence of Indian confidence that it cannot hit back, that Pakistan cannot hit back. And from this point of view, it's a clear-cut victory for India.
Operation Sindoor is very unique for me as a teacher and student of war, as in after an awful terrorist attack, India responded immediately with strategic clarity on what their goals was, striking 9 terrorist sites, so very, very discriminately, but also very overwhelming against terrorist infrastructure for the terrorists that had launched attack on Indian soil, killing Indian civilians. And that started Operation Sindoor, which was very unique in the immediate and clear message that operation started. But then the Pakistan military, which we all know that they fund and resource the terrorists, but the Pakistan military attacked India with drones and wasn't able to hit any of the Indian military and civilian sites they were targeting because of India's overwhelming air defense capabilities. India then responded against military sites in Pakistan at will with basically 100% success, very discriminately targeting the objectives.
Pakistan was forced to beg for a ceasefire. India has still not halted Operation Sindoor. The new normal is that India will only discuss Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and terrorism at the negotiating table, and that India will respond militarily if there is a Pakistan-backed terror attack in India. The situation remains tense. Pakistan is known for the backing of terror against India and interestingly has not been punished adequately by the international community for its use of terrorism as an instrument of state policy. There's another conflict in the Middle East. Israel has struck nuclear infrastructure deep inside Iran. It has assassinated Iran's top nuclear scientists, Iran's top generals, and its key intelligence personnel.
Mr. Bismuth, Israel and Iran have launched these airstrikes on each other, and this makes it the 7th day of the conflict. First and foremost, what's your assessment of the current situation on this conflict?
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. There is one big difference between Iran and Israel in this conflict. Israel is defending itself, and Iran wants to destroy Israel ever since the first day of the Republic Islamic was born in February 1979. Now, you must understand, Israel, you're asking a question, and the answer is very clear. Israel will not allow Iran to be nuclear. Israel will not allow Iran to continue developing its ballistic missiles, and we see perfectly well what those missiles are doing to our population. Another thing that people, our friends in India, must understand, while we attack military platforms, nuclear platforms, military commanders, they attack hospitals. This morning in Beersheba, they attacked an hospital, and the kids, this is a place just almost a few meters where kids are being healed. So there is a big difference. And again, as I said before, we want to live happily and in peace with our neighbors. Iran doesn't want it to exist. This is the huge difference between Israel and the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Right. While as far as this hospital attack is concerned, public has been advised to avoid visiting the hospital. Authorities have, been evaluating the situation. But big questions being raised about how vulnerable Israel is. What are the measures that are being taken to protect hospitals in particular and other critical facilities amidst this escalating conflict?
This is a very good question, sir, and I'll be honest with you. You speak about the country, you speak about a nation, you speak about people who are very concerned one to another, and we have what you call the cult of life. On the other side, you've got people, it can be in Gaza, Hamas, it can be the Islamic Republic of Iran, it can be Islamist militias in Iraq, where they have the cult of death. Meaning for us, first of all, number one is to protect our civilians. Now, it is true that you cannot have 100% protection. This is obvious. It is true also that over there, people protect missiles. In Israel, missiles protect people. But you can't have a guarantee of 100%. But what I tell the people, and today I visited, yes, I must be honest and tell you, this is places that I would never imagine to see in cities like Bat Yam, cities like Holon, where so many buildings, yes, I must admit, buildings, not a building, buildings were hit, cars were totally destroyed, and people, this is the most important, people were killed, including kids, 7 years old, 10 years old. And the only thing I see, first of all, I see the strength of the population because they understand one thing. Today it's conventional, tomorrow it's nuclear. And this is why we are determined to win this war.
Yes, and Israel's defense minister, Mr. Katz, has come out to say recently that Khamenei openly declares that he wants Israel destroyed. He personally gives the order to fire on hospitals, and such a man can now no longer be allowed to exist. How should one interpret this statement? Are you not ruling out the possibility that Iran's supreme leader is one of your targets?
Look, you know that in the first day of the attack, all the commanders of Iran, Army, Navy, Air Force, Pasadran, Revolutionary Guard, were all hit. And this shows you the intelligence of Israel and the capacities we have. Concerning government, these are people, who decide. I can't say that Khamenei was elected. As you know, they had a revolution over there. Khamenei succeeded after the death of Ayatollah Khomeini. Iranian people are the ones to make the choice. I respect a lot Iranian people. I respect a lot Iranian culture. I respect a lot Iranian history. We are not at war against the Iranian people. We're at war against the regime. And according to what we see in the world, Iranian people also detest the regime. You remember in 2009, this green huge wave that we had. Unfortunately, because of the sadness, because of the violence of this regime, they stay in power because of their, how would I say, their terrorism rule or governments. But I can tell you one thing. it is obvious, and let's not be naive and let's be honest, it is obvious that once this war will be won, and it will be won.
Iran has also launched missiles into Israel.
ملت ایران در مقابل جنگ تحمیلی محکم می ایسته، همچنانی که تا حالا ایستاده. در مقابل صلح تحمیلی محکم می ایسته. ملت ایران در مقابل تحمیل تسلیم هیچ کس نمیشه.
Israel has not ruled out that Ayatollah Khamenei...
It's going to end the conflict. We've had...
And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before all this death and destruction? Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country. It's very sad to watch this. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's so, everyone thought it was going to be the reverse. I didn't think so. And I was telling them, you gotta do something. You gotta negotiate. And at the end, last minute, they said, no, we're not going to do that, and they got hit. Remember 60 days, and then came the 60. 61 is going to become a very famous number. That was one hell of a hit. That first hit, that was one hell of a hit. Not sustainable, to be honest. That's where it ended. It ended on the first night.
The Russian President Vladimir Putin is keen on negotiating peace with Israel as well as Iran, while being in the midst of a war himself with Ukraine. Clearly, the situation around the world remains extremely volatile. It does remain an era of war.